They say politics is a dirty game, but what they rarely tell you is this.
Ruto William Samoei.
Only the dirtiest thrive in it. And if you're not ready to swim in mud, to be dragged through rumors, betrayal and manipulation, then you're not ready to win. Because in this game, it's not the boldest who survive, it's the most cunning. In the book of Samuel, when the Israelites begged God for a king, God warned them. He knew the destruction that would come when man begins to choose leaders by desire rather than destiny. But the people insisted, and God, being a gentleman, stepped aside. "Have your way," he said. And from that day, humanity was introduced to deception, tribalism, corruption, and a new temple of political theatre, the church. Fast forward to present-day Kenya, Central Region. At the center of today's exposé is Juja Member of Parliament, George Koimburi. Surrounding him, a tangled web of allies and accomplices. Peter Kiratu, who is the Juja constituency CDF chairman. Cyrus Kieru Muhia, close ally and businessman. Gatana, loyal friend. Purity Njeri, the MP's wife. Grace Nduta Wairimo, alleged mistress and MCA, the so-called abductors. It all began on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025, at exactly 3 p.m. A confidential letter from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, ODPP, landed on the desk of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI. The instruction? Apprehend and arrest Juja MP George Koimburi over allegations of land fraud. No delays. The very next morning, Friday, May 23rd, at 8:30 a.m., DCI moved to execute that order. They called the MP. No response. They called again. Still, silence. Eventually, a WhatsApp summon was sent. And in the world of digital footprints, there are no secrets. The grey ticks turned blue. He had read it, but there was no reply. Minutes passed, then hours, and then George Koimburi did what most suspects do when cornered. He switched off his phone. At 2 p.m., DCI had had enough. They decided to make a move. But George Koimburi was already ahead. He knew the play. He knew how they move. He had studied the game. What followed next was a cinematic escape. His black Prado was headed into town. But what the DCI didn't know was that the MP wasn't inside. He had quietly jumped onto a motorbike, trailing them, diverting toward Westlands. The DCI, meanwhile, continued tailing the empty Prado. When they finally intercepted it in Nairobi, all they found was the driver. The MP had vanished. Later that evening, 7:07 p.m., George Koimburi made a quiet call to his right-hand man, Peter Kiratu. The location? Westlands. The vehicle, KCJ 660P. That night, Koimburi and Kiratu checked into a hotel in Westlands. By Saturday, May 24th at 6:30 a.m., the two men quietly left Westlands, heading to Peter Kiratu's home. It was here that the real game was born. A deception only the politically desperate could dream up. They would delay the arrest, but not by hiding. No, they would manufacture an abduction. The plan? Simple. Use loyal allies, private security, disguise them as abductors, create a false crisis. Peter Kiratu reached out to Cyrus Kieru Muhia, who agreed to loan his Subaru Forester KDG 803B, supposedly to provide security for a church event at Full Gospel Church Mugutha. Then came Karanja Gatana, brought in to coordinate the operation. He would be the man pulling the strings. At exactly 6:30 a.m., George Koimburi and Peter Kiratu arrived at Koimburi's home in Juja, once again driving the same car, KCJ 660P. They prepared for church, and shortly after, joined by Koimburi's wife, Purity and Jerry, the trio left for Full Gospel Church, Mugutha. This marked the first time Koimburi appeared in public since disappearing on Friday, May 23rd. His sudden reappearance stunned many. Was he no longer a fugitive? Had he somehow gained immunity? On their way, Peter Kiratu made a call. He contacted Cyrus Kieru Muhia, instructing him to head to Kiratu's home in Mugutha. Cyrus complied, driving his Subaru to the residence where he found a man named Karanja Gatana, allegedly the operations leader, already there. Strangely, Gatana was driving Kiratu's Honda CR-V, registration KBP096W. Cyrus was then ordered to drive two heavily built men in his vehicle toward the same church. Gatana followed closely behind, still in Kiratu's car. As they neared the church, Gatana called Kiratu to inform him they were approaching. Immediately, Koimburi, Purity and Jerry and Kiratu abruptly stood up and exited the church. As they reached the entrance, Cyrus pulled up and stopped. The two men inside his car suddenly jumped out. What followed were screams, chaotic and sharp. In that split second, Koimburi was forcefully bundled into the car. Cyrus was ordered to drive off while Gatana sped ahead. They left behind a scene of confusion. Purity and Jerry crying hysterically, and Peter Kiratu pretending to be shocked and devastated. The convoy sped toward Jacaranda Coffee Research via Cambogo Road, where they stopped. Gatana had arrived earlier and was already waiting. Two men stayed behind with Cyrus, warning him not to talk to police. Koimburi and Gatana then left in Kiratu's vehicle, KBP096W, heading to the Ellis Bar and Restaurant. According to hotel staff, Koimburi arrived first. Moments later, two heavily built men joined him. Despite being in hiding, Koimburi used his own phone to pay for accommodation. But here's where it gets more bizarre. Koimburi had activated a call forwarding code. *210-722-199199#. This feature diverted all incoming calls to a different number, making his phone unreachable even though he could still browse, make calls and use data. To deactivate it, one only needs to dial #002#, and that's exactly what Koimburi did once he was ready to reappear. Meanwhile, Grace and Duta Wairimo, alleged mistress and MCA, Kanyanya Ini Ward, arrived and began taking pictures discreetly. Like a spy, Kiratu proceeded to the police station to report that Koimburi had been abducted. A move that now appears to have been nothing more than part of a scripted performance. Monday, May 26, 2025, early morning. Karanja Gatana picked up the MP from the Ellis Bar and Restaurant. They drove just 900 meters away to Koimburi's home, where he was dumped. Gatana then helped him tear his clothes, a desperate attempt to fake evidence of torture and abuse. But Gatana didn't leave. Instead, he called Purity and Jerry, informing her that her husband had been spotted near their home. As she rushed out, Gatana recorded a shaky video, claiming he couldn't hear what Koimburi was saying. That same day, Frida and Jerry, claiming to be a first responder, rushed Koimburi to Plainview Hospital in Ruiru. He was transported in the very same vehicle, KCJ 660P, the one Kiratu had used days earlier to drive to Westlands, but the police weren't buying it. The DCI launched an investigation, starting with the scene of the alleged abduction. Officers from Juja found no match between the vegetation and terrain shown in the video and the actual coffee farm. The caretaker, Moses Kariuki, confirmed no such incident occurred. This was no longer about political sides. It was now about the truth. The police eventually ruled out abduction. The entire saga appeared to be a staged deception, carefully orchestrated and poorly executed. The investigation then focused on identifying the car used during the alleged abduction. In the widely circulated video, the vehicle's number plate was concealed. However, according to sources within the investigative unit, the DCI used unique vehicle identifiers and presented them to NTSA. The NTSA responded with a match. 2 vehicles were flagged. One of them was a Subaru Forester, initially disguised with the fake registration number KDQ803B. Its real number plate was KDG803B, and it belonged to Cyrus Kieru Muhia, a known ally of the MP and the owner of a supermarket in Kahawa West. Cyrus Kieru Muhia was arrested on May 27th at 1 a.m. immediately after NTSA confirmed the vehicle's identity. During interrogation, Cyrus spilled the beans. He revealed the entire plot to the police, a confession that led to the arrest of Peter Kiratu and Karanja Gatana. As of now, 5 suspects are in custody. Dear viewers, this is not about which political wing you support. This is about the truth. We must say no to dirty politics. Politics that threaten to drag Kenya into a dark place. Kenya is you. You are Kenya. By saying no to George Koimburi's deception, you are protecting your country, and more importantly, protecting yourself. You have every right to support any leader you believe in, but never surrender your brain to them. When they go wrong, hold them accountable. That is the truest form of support. If a leader goes astray and you still defend them blindly, then you are not helping them. You're enabling their downfall. And with that, dear viewers, we've come to the end of today's story. All I ask of you is this. Like this video, share it with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to Life Lens TV for more eye-opening stories like this. Until next time, take care and may God be with you.